Hello everyone, my name is Robin and I am here to share the truth about Volume 9's hidden secrets, what RWBY Volume 9 was originally supposed to be. Most of this information came to light because of the RWBY Volume 9 epilogue. The main thing is that RWBY Volume 9 was originally 12 episodes, not 10, long. And what we know as the Volume 9 epilogue was really the Volume 9 finale's ending. The other thing is that the epilogue is 100% canon, and it will be included in Volume 10 if Volume 10 does happen. This also means that the main remnant plotline would have advanced in Volume 9 like many people wanted it to. Now for a couple disclaimers, I'm not gonna pretend like I know everything. I've never worked at Rooster Teeth. However, there is a lot more public knowledge about Volume 9 than people realize, so I am sharing everything that we know and putting asterisks between that and what I believe. So I will hope that I can do a good job of explaining what we know versus what I think. And because of that, this video gets really far into the nitty-gritty. There is a lot of nuance to how production budgets work, so if I don't explain certain things well enough, I will clarify them in the comment section. That is to say, please do leave a comment if you need help understanding something. So first, what is this epilogue? If you are not familiar, the epilogue is a 6-minute animatic that was cut from Volume 9. It was shown at RTX Austin 2023. And by the way, an animatic is what a scene looks like before it gets animated with 3D models, so it is fully legit. Don't think that it is less canon just because it's not animated in 3D. This epilogue showed how all of the characters who originally made it to Vacuo were adjusting to a new life without Team RWBY or Jean. Everyone, all 4 kingdoms, were in Vacuo, and at the end of it, Raven Bronwyn brings Team RWBY and Jean to Crow, Oscar, Ren, Nora, and Emerald. They reunite, and that's it. That's the epilogue. Based on what the head writer Eddie Rivas shared on Twitter, this originally was where Volume 9's final end credits would roll. When the epilogue was originally shared, people didn't fully understand what it was supposed to be. Was it canon? Was it not? Was it an early draft that never got used? But the truth is, this is 100% factual. Volume 9 originally had 12 episodes, 12 chapters, and the epilogue was the original end of Volume 9 Chapter 12. It was how Volume 9 was originally supposed to close out. Team RWBY and Jean would have met the rest of the team in Vacuo, and the credits would have rolled. We know this because in the animatic, there is text labeling everything as Volume 9 Chapter 12. All 6 minutes are Volume 9 Chapter 12. There is also text showing that the animatic was made in 2021, so this was not something that was made more recently just to appease the RTX attendees because there needs to be something new and exclusive to show them, and they didn't have anything, so they made this new epilogue or something like that. No, this had been sitting around for years, and it never got fully animated because there just wasn't enough money to do so, and it was left on the cutting room floor where they weren't able to show it until now. Everything I've said up until this point was 100% true, and now I'm going to give some of my own interpretation on it while keeping clear what is true and what is my personal understanding. So to recap, 2 whole episodes of runtime got cut from Volume 9. I'll explain now how I believe that happened using some information that Eddie Rivas had shared and some other things like concept art that I will get to. Eddie had said, sometimes really awful things do happen at stages where it's just hard to mitigate in the production. Volumes 7, 8, and 9 all dealt with this to varying degrees, some more than others. And he said that after Volume 9, in which case I do believe that the varying degree was Volume 9. And as an aside, Eddie had also said that Volume 7 had cuts during the writing process, where there were originally going to be 14 chapters in Volume 7, but after some complications, they only had the budget for 13 of them. At that point, they had already written the first 9 chapters, so they had to condense chapters 10 to 14 by 1 to make it work. However, Volume 9 did not have that kind of foresight. So for Volume 9, the cuts happened at a point much later in the production pipeline, well after the writing had already finished. The way production works, they could not go back and rewrite things. That would cost a lot more money when the point was that there was already not enough money. So their only option was to cut what was already written. If you ask me, they didn't just cut the original chapters 11 and 12 and volume 9 on chapter 10 and call it a day. I personally believe that they did cut chapter 12 in its entirety, and I believe that it would have been entirely set in vacuo. But I also believe that there's no chapter 11, not because it was cut, but because it was like repurposed. The idea is that Team RWBY defeating the cat, meeting the blacksmith and arriving in vacuo was originally all chapter 11. But like what they did to Volume 7, they condensed the final few chapters of the volume to make it work with the budget. And when I watch Volume 9, that's exactly how it feels to me. The first 7 chapters all feel like they come across holistically like the writers intended them to. The pacing feels 100% intentional. But when you look at Chapter 9, especially, that's not the case. The way that Chapter 9 cuts back and forth between the inside of the tree and the outside of it screams like an editorial decision to help fill the time. The writing of RWBY's scenes all come across like they were originally meant to be one long undisturbed scene. That's how they were written. And the way that RWBY's shots are framed is the same way. They all lead into the next shot like there's not supposed to be a different scene interrupting them out of nowhere. Like, look at this. Doesn't this look like this shot leads directly into this shot? Well, it doesn't. There's a scene in the middle, and I personally I cannot believe that that is the original intention. Also, despite the fact that Summer Rose first shows up in Chapter 9, we know 100% for a fact her first scene was not supposed to be until Chapter 11. And the inverted Curious Cat's body possession scene is in Chapter 8, despite the fact that it was originally supposed to happen in Chapter 9. This is because of Summer Rose's and the Curious Cat's official concept art, which was made before these cuts took place. Most of Volume 9's final concept art shows what chapter the thing would first be in. So Summer Rose is first supposed to be in 11, and the cat's body possession stance was supposed to first be in Chapter 9. And that's to help keep things organized and streamline the planning a little bit. But now, because it's been fully revealed when later cuts take place, it doesn't actually match up with what chapter the thing actually does first appear in. So, to put all of this simply, Chapter 12, I believe, was cut entirely, while Chapters 8, 9, 10, and 11 became just 8, 9, and 10. And I'm sure that people might think, why would Rooster Teeth call it an epilogue and not a deleted scene? Why was that what they called it at RTX? And the reason is probably because they wanted to save face. The fact that they had to cut 2 full chapters from Volume 9 is not good publicity. So despite the fact that the epilogue is clearly labeled as Chapter 12, they rebranded it. However, again, like I said at the top of this video, that epilogue will be fully animated and we need to treat it as 100% canon, despite the fact that it hasn't technically been shown in the story yet. And that does it. I know that this is an odd video for me to make, especially at this time, but I've been incredibly busy with my day job as well as now a side job that I recently took up to where I now have 0 free time for this YouTube channel. Things happened to work out where I had the time to make this video, but I personally would not expect to see anything else on this channel until Volume 10 gets announced. However, if you are in the RWBY community and you follow other RWBY YouTube creators, then you probably know about the RWBY Volume 9 Oscars. Not only will I be a presenter in the RWBY Volume 9 Oscars, I do hope to have a reaction video to that if all goes according to plan. But back to the topic at hand, I hope I did a good enough job of explaining what is true based on valid sources and what is my own personal interpretation. I have been stewing on all of this information for a few months now, watching people misinterpret the Volume 9 epilogue and critiquing Volume 9 overall without knowing the full story. So much of the discussions around Volume 9 have happened because people were not informed on this kind of thing, and I genuinely like to inform people. I want everyone to have the full story, and I originally would have shared it in my previous news video about the panel, but I didn't because I assumed that Rooster Teeth would archive the panel online and that people would be able to watch it and learn for themselves. But Rooster Teeth didn't. Rooster Teeth only filmed the things at RTX that they deemed absolutely necessary this year. Only their live shows, no unnecessary panels. So now I had to pick up the scraps and hope that people will still be informed, despite the fact that all of this news is old. That all being said, like and subscribe to stay up to date on any and all Volume 10 news. In case it ever does happen, I will make news videos. I'll see you next time. I'm Robin Rising. Have a good one.